Dallas chapter of the Native Plant Society.
Closer to the speaker.
Can y'all hear me now? Hopefully. Okay.
Welcome back, Katie.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I don't have a teacher voice, but anyways, hope you guys can hear me better now. Welcome to the Dallas chapter of the Native Plant Society of Texas meeting. Today we have a good speaker speaking to us, and just
Speaker.
yes, it worked. Yes, but before I get to her, just a reminder to sign up for the statewide symposium. It's happening the first weekend in October. I think it's the 3rd through the 4th. The registration is still open until September 19th, which is this Friday. We also have the North Texas Giving Day campaign that it's open now to give if you would like to give before. The main day is coming up soon. And also our speaker today, Cindy, she is the award-winning, the Benny J. Simpson Fellow Award winners. They give out 3 of these awards every year, and she is the winner, one of the winners this year. Congrats, Cindy. Congrats. So the Benny J. Simpson Fellows honor is presented to individuals whose work enriches the society at the state or chapter level. They are chosen by the membership from a list of members with a minimum of 10 years of continuous commendable service. So thank you so much, Cindy, for your dedication to native plants and for helping all of us improve and utilize and learn more about the native plants of Texas. So thank you.
And thanks for voting for me.
Yes, thank you all who voted for Cindy. She really deserves this award.
I really thought I'd have more gray hair when I got that, but I'll take it now.
And for those of y'all that don't know Cindy, I'll read off your blurb real fast so we can get an introduction to her. So she found her passion in sustainable native planting. With her degree in architecture as a design foundation, she's taken cues from science and nature to help educate and design our environment in keeping with the long forgotten harmony with the natural world. She is currently a project manager for an architecture firm in Dallas, but has worked with her mentor Rosa Finsley for several years on various landscapes, implementing naturalistic design using native Texas plants. It is her goal to help the growing trend of reducing the consumptive, chemical-dependent lawns and replacing them with yards that are in balance with our resources and climate, providing habitats for the dwindling numbers of our native and migrating wildlife. She's been a member of the Dallas Native Plant Society chapter since 2013 and has served on its board in several positions since 2015 and has been a president for many years. So thank you so much, Cindy, and please give a warm welcome to Cindy, our speaker for this evening.
Everybody, thank you. Just a quick point for those of you at home, this whole slideshow will have the top left corner free. So if you want to change your Zoom to speaker mode and put my fancy little face up there, nothing will be in the way. Yay! There are a lot of slides. I'll go fast, but if I go too fast, let me know. But I hope I have enough eye candy for you, and I hope I don't say a lot. It'll be great. So apologies in advance for that. So board hat presume slideshow. My notes went. Anyway. Oh, now I need the speaker, the USB for this guy. So I can actually, I'll do it. I did.
And then minima.
Not crazy. There it is.
There we go.
Whew.
She made a presentation.
Yeah, we're not experts at this since COVID, no. Sorry, ready. Cut action. With our population growth, droughts, local flooding, heat island effect, and dare I say,
Not sharing on Zoom.
okay. I'm not sure. Thank you. Cut So I can't get to it. Remember, I can't maximize it to. Is it over there? Oh, sorry, go over here. Go over here and undo speaker mode to. Sorry.
Oh, screen 2. Where it says 2.
It takes a village. Yeah, but can we do, this is speaker mode now?
Oh, yeah, that's working.
Okay. Now, somebody raised their hand. Now I gotta get my mouse back. Start the slideshow.
Excuse me, I'm outside, but I don't actually know how to get in the building. I'm sorry to interrupt.
That's a new one for us.
Sending someone out for you.
Okay,
There's two different doors.
I'm at the door that has the green canopy thing. Oh, I hear somebody. Think. Thank you.
All right, without further ado, 10 minutes later, who's got the margaritas?
There are margaritas afterward. Forgot to mention that.
Yes, come visit us at Gabrielle and Sophia's off of Meadow and Central
By the Tom Thumb.
by the Tom Thumb. Everybody muted? Ready to go? Okay. Action. Hi, everyone. With our population growth, droughts, local flooding, heat island effect, and dare I say, climate change, our homestead ownership responsibilities must now include land stewardship. We need to encourage and foster a new landscape aesthetic, using native plants to restore our Texas ecosystems in order to support our local and migrating wildlife, to create a sense of place, a Texas place. Everybody seen this guy? I'm going to be quoting a lot of people, so not all of this is me, okay? I'm a compiler of knowledge. Mr. Joey says, when you plant native, you are using the machinery that came with the land, like using the right places to the right puzzle. Those plants have had millions of years to evolve with all the beneficial and antagonistic native insects, fungi, and vertebrates that compose the living fabric of the place. Those insects, fungi, and vertebrates need those plants to survive, and they also help keep those plants in check. Each region has its own cast of species that compose its living fabric. Learn what those are and learn to appreciate them. They were literally built by the land and the climate and the other living things that live there. Let's not F it up. Per Doug Tallamy, we need to shift the mentality that symbols of wealth are not expensive lawns, expansive, but yards that are restored or designed and maintained to provide complex food webs, store carbon, manage our watersheds, rebuild our soils, and support the diversity of pollinators and natural enemies. We need to steer our aesthetics away from thousands of imported species plants, insects, and diseases from other lands, which have decimated many native plant communities on which many local food webs depend. And we've carved out the natural world into tiny remnants, each too small and too isolated to support the variety of species required to sustain the ecosystems that support us. Rather than acting as if we were independent of nature, we need to behave a little more reverently and respectfully towards nature, as if we were the product and beneficiary of a vibrant natural world rather than its master. Today, most people live in that great urban matrix, and we hardly interact with the natural world. Unfortunately, our ignorance of nature has led to a dangerous indifference about its fate. The local disappearance of once common plants and animals does not bother us because we have grown up with no knowledge of these species, and we cannot imagine why they are important to us. Using as many natives as possible helps us to reduce this fragmentation, as we can't rely on government institutions to save or eminent domain property to create a network of parks or green corridors for our wildlife use without the danger or hesitancy to cross the urban jungle we've created. Therefore, it is incumbent upon us to link our native plant yards to create these green corridors, or what Doug Tallamy calls homegrown national park. And I promise I won't be reading off the script the whole time. I'm quoting him, okay? E.O. Wilson was an American biologist, naturalist, ecologist, and etymologist, and hypothesizes that we need to save 50% of the earth to sustain and prevent 80% of species, of all which are essential to sustaining the living portions of our planet, and stabilize the biosphere to stave off the 6th mass extinction. Although we've been generous setting aside large swaths of ecotypes, those that are unsustainable for human survival, focus needs to shift to save regions that best support native and migrating species. With 83% of America as private property and 95% of Texas privately owned, it is incumbent upon those owners to preserve and restore those lands, whether commercial or residential, to habitats supporting biodiversity. That means us. And as Benjamin Vogt of Monarch Gardens and Prairie Up notes on his t-shirt for sale, lawns are a colossal classist supremacist holdover that undermine our health and well-being through intensive toxic management of wildlife denying monoculture, which further estranges us from the home places and best self. Not a fan. Mr. Sale.
He has some good t-shirts.
Link at the end. I don't get any kickbacks. We need a cultural recognition that conservation is everyone's responsibility. We are learning every day more about how to redesign both public and private landscapes that meet both aesthetic, cultural, and practical needs of humans without devastating the resources needed by humans and other species. Before deciding on a style that I'm gonna go through a list later, plan on using keynote species in your landscapes to form the basis of the food web, i.e. oaks for caterpillars as food for baby birds. If you have larval host trees, design tip, provide soft landing pads and vegetative areas with leaf litter in the winter under trees, especially oaks, to support moth pupa protection areas. You don't want them to drop on turf grass and then mow it all the time. You're destroying that little habitat for their reproductive areas. Keystone plants, if you haven't heard, are host plants that feed the young caterpillars of approximately 90% of butterflies and moths. And for native bees, feed both specialist and generalist bees. Keystone species include milkweed. We've got antelope horn, green, and Texas milkweed, which is my current new favorite. More keystone species are goldenrods and sunflowers. And I'm just mentioning those that are for North Texas. But if you get on National Wildlife Federation's website, you can look up some more. But they're for the whole Great Plains. So look at it with some education behind it. Also asters. Now you know the ecological reasons why you should convert your design aesthetic and your homestead. But here's the economical reason. Why spend money on weekend getaways to relax when you can create your own destination getaway in your own backyard and visit as much as possible at a reduced rate? By the way, this is Nancy Wilson's backyard and Molly Holler of the Wildscape in Arlington. Removing high maintenance turf grass lawn and using natives can give you more time relaxing, more time sleeping in on the weekends. Who wants to get up and mow the yard every weekend? More time with the family, going to Little League, going to Pee Wee, on the weekends. More time enjoying the birds and the butterflies. More time having fun than trying to keep up with the Joneses. We are going to talk about these design types. Lawn alternatives. We're going to start small. If you haven't done anything yet, we're going to start small. We're going to go crazy. And then we're going to go little combination of both. Lawn alternatives. You can use a turf grass-like aesthetic for sunny areas. Habiturf from Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center works well. This is what it can look like when fully grown. It's not smooth, but this is where you need to just think, hey, this is good. It's a new design aesthetic that I encourage everybody to think about. It can still be the same height, but little variation. Mow to no less than 4 inches for dense turf, or leave it, and it grows to a maximum of 8 inches, and it's a little less dense. In shade areas, use large groupings of sedges. On this project, we specified cedar sedge, Carex planostachys, but meadow sedge or Carex perdentata could have been installed. So I'm not quite sure. They all kind of look the same. Pam Pennick, a blogger down in Austin, replaced this side of her yard with over 700 Carex divulsa plugs. Carex divulsa. I'm not sure, but she got it from McNeil Growers. Ground covers make a great turf grass lawn alternative for those that prefer a solid pattern look, live in traditional neighborhoods with restrictions or opinionated neighbors, or as a transition.
There's free over there on the table.
There's free frog fruit on the table in the bag. Can be used as a transition to a wildscape while waiting to see if you successfully removed all the Bermuda grass before investing in all new seeds and perennials in pots. Here they're using frog fruit currently in full bloom. Oop. Here's frog fruit in a commercial retail parking area. Horse herb can also be used as a lawn alternative in shady areas. It will do well in full sun if it's watered regularly. I do, however, suggest mixing horse herb and frog fruit with other ground covers or sedges, as the winter look is not even pleasant to my new aesthetic. Lots of dirt exposed and can make your yard vulnerable to winter weed seeds. But it sure is lovely in pockets and surrounding perennials. That's what I would do next time I get a house, is I would do ground covers, remove all the turf grass, do ground covers, see if anything comes up. And if I have to dig and get rid of some more, then I can pot my perennials. And then I have a great living ground mulch layer. Instead of mulch, I use the ground covers. Because, it takes, 3 to 5 years for, Salvia greggii to get big. Why not have a ground cover base? Score. Specimen gardens are gardens that feature large striking plants that are planted to stand out as focal points. Here, Christine Tenek uses large agaves surrounded by sedges and other low-growing vines, leaving the agaves to be the rock stars. That's my house. Was my house. Wildscapes, while not always permitted, especially in HOAs, here's where definitions differ a bit. Texas Park and Wildlife says a wildscape is a habitat restoration and conservation plan for rural and urban areas. It enables you to contribute to wildlife conservation by developing wildlife habitats where they live, work, and play. While most of us look at a garden with a few perennials and grasses filled in with seasonal wildflowers and say, that is definitely a wildscape. Note this owner, me, should have done a better job keeping the sidewalk clear. But it certainly was more fun to walk through as a meandering path. Never got stung. And that's just the spring flush. The perennials are underneath. I know I was not in an HOA, and I was in a 1970s starter neighborhood, so no one else actually mowed, so they had no room to complain about me. This area of the Laura Bush Native Texas Park could be considered a wildscape. The meandering path here is wild and free with little to small groupings. I invite you to switch your phrase from stop and smell the roses to stop and observe the pollinators. More fitting for our group anyway, right? Piet Oudolf, a Dutch landscape architect, has done several projects in the US. And while he doesn't focus on natives, he's getting a lot better. And I would say 80 to 90% of his projects in the US employ natives. He says perennials fall into two categories: structure and filler plants. The difference between the two is structure plants provide clear visual interest until autumn at least. And filler plants are only used for flower or foliage color, becoming formless or even untidy after midsummer. He uses about 70% of a garden should be filled with structure plants, and the other 30% can be filler. For structure, he chooses repeat bloomers, long season perennials, and grasses. To quote him directly, repeating plants at regular intervals adds rhythm and variation. It creates a feeling that this is one place with one design and one vision. When appropriate, Oudolf plants native species. It is important that planting schemes for biodiversity combine species which really support wildlife effectively, as well as those which simply look good and tick the native plant box. He draws a comparison between matrix planting and fruitcakes. Both are shaped like rectangles, studded with treats. Good fruitcake depends on good batter. A good matrix planting depends on background plants that are visually quiet with soft colors and without striking form. Grasses are an obvious choice. They can occupy the space for a long period of time, year-round perhaps, without having to be replaced. Within the matrix, plant a few visual treats that will bloom in succession over the course of a year. A clump of irises to bloom in spring, followed by poppies in the summer. I'm quoting him, so they're not natives. And sedums in the late summer and asters in autumn, just to give you an idea. This is by Native Plant chapter member, Adrian. When designing a garden, keep it simple. 2 or 3 layers are enough, says Oudolf. The idea of layers is to help the eye read the confusion of leaves and stems in front of you. To make sense of the garden. Evergreen shrubs in the background, perennials in the foreground, for instance, are enough to create a distinct visual focal point. Isn't that just lovely? Create depth and a feeling of mystery with plants that intermingle. Avoid separate, distinct clumps of different plants and instead allow plants to self-sow among themselves. I would say that applies to close up where the person's actually walking. Because when that first slide, he's got more grouping. So he's kind of, but that's far off in the distance. So your bigger mass plantings away from the eye, closer to where your walking path is. Straight grass pathways provide a softness to a linear edge, yet provide structured order between planted beds and a seeded wildscape. Pocket prairies. A pocket prairie is a small man-made area of native plants that's designed to be self-sustaining. They're often found in urban and suburban areas, such as vacant lots, backyards, and green spaces. Let's make that quote be front yards too. Pocket prairies have a wider mix of grasses as well as annuals and perennials. Instagram natives plant sensation, Plano Prairie Garden, Michael McDowell, bucked the system in his neighborhood to create this striking pocket prairie and post progress pics regularly. Benjamin Vogt of Prairie Up is a landscape designer and author, lending his design views through online webinars, books, and newsletters. So you can learn more by deep diving through one of his books or his webinars for just 40, 50 bucks. He's in Nebraska. Here he preaches lawns to That's George Bush. Okay. Here he preaches lawns to prairies from his own front yard, which he calls HQ. He also does a webinar on matrix planting. Pocket prairies can also look tidy with low sedges and short grasses with pops of other grasses and perennials. Nativescapes. Nativescapes are the in-between wildscape and lawn alternatives. Landscapes loosely defined as any landscape design with native plants. They could be anything from a wildscape to elements of a landscape design to formal designs, though typically a combination of all these elements. The North Texas OG native plant landscape architect and my mentor, Rosa Finsley, specializes in nativescapes and even opened a nursery back in the day, Kings Creek Nursery, just to source native plants for all her projects before they got popular enough. Here at this hill country property, she's maintaining a traditional lawn area of native short grass mix around the pool. Wait, where'd it go? There it is. Around the pool for safe gathering and lounging, and uses natives at the rock wall in the background, separating the main living spaces with the ranch area. The pool is on the right. This ranch project is using a combination of nativescapes surrounding the formal public entry with focal points. And this San Antonio residence employs a more tidy nativescape for the front entrance, yet performs double duty as a privacy screen from the street. Carol Feldman, yay, tackled this East Texas rural ranchette with layering. Note the minimal porch plantings, a lawn of snake and critter safe low native turf grass mixes, transitioning to minimal purposeful plantings, yielding to natural or restored prairies, savannas, and woods in the background. She also did this project in Dallas. They don't have to take up the whole yard and can be phased in with typical North Texas foundation planting. But why not integrate these into a nice, instead of doing a hardscape wall like they're stuck with back here, is liven up the space a bit. Nativescapes aren't relegated to residences. Carol employed natives at this office complex in Heath. Note how she anchored the building, build the building quarters with tall Lindheimer muleys rather than ornamental trees. Think about that alternative if you ever have the chance to install or replace foundation plantings. You don't have to have a Yopon holly in the corners. Nativescapes can be used in commercial developments while still maintaining traffic visibility and a presentable face to the public by strategically providing a native turf edge and clear borders at more wildscape areas. And while I don't have a slide for it, this is the perfect example of how you tell code enforcement this was purposeful. You have a clear delineated edge. I planted this on purpose. Nativescapes can also be rain gardens. Carrie Doubly converted most of her front yard into a series of rain garden catchment basins that are just dry stream beds the rest of the year. Can everybody see here's the sidewalk down here. Well, she's undercut the sidewalk from a downspout over here. And then it comes downhill into this catchment, comes downhill, and then there's the last one. But she's also got a rock bridge here where it's also combining. Here she solved one homeowner's drainage problem by diverting all the rain to one large rain garden equipped with an overflow drain. So they dug all of this out. And then they have an overflow drain for when the rains really open up. So it's not washing all the dirt away. It's going back into the sewer line. 4 years later, neighbors are none the wiser. Yet this bed gets all the initial drainage when we get a small rainfall, and it helps keep it lush. Confluence Park in San Antonio is a nativescape on a grand scale. To quote Pete Udoff again, grasses set a mood in the garden, like candlelight at a dinner party. Plant grasses en masse to create a soft, blurred background for other plants. It's a romantic, forgiving look. Not unlike the effect you get, I don't know why they said this, from rubbing Vaseline on a lens before snapping a photo. Alan, have you ever done that with photographing? Maybe you should try that. Put some back.
Do you have a computer?
He's old school. I don't know.
So many concerns. I don't know.
Right? How are you ever going to get it all off? Vistas. Think about larger mass plantings to draw your eye down long views leading you toward destination areas. Here, the designer used layering of all grasses, but changed the species for color and texture. Next, we're going to talk about modern nativescapes, mass plantings in modern design beds. Here, Kay Cook Landscape Architects did the DART station at Inwood.
Doesn't look like that still.
No, maintenance is Native plantings in larger commercial projects are typically more successful if designed in orderly groupings. Education and maintenance are still major obstacles for the success of these larger projects, whether privately or public owned. So the more symmetry and groupings you have, the less education. Case in point, the rain gardens on Elm Street and Deep Ellum. Not all rain gardens in Deep Ellum have survived. Now it's just a gravel pit. There's a few plants, but although we rally against the formalities and monotony of suburban turf grass monocultures and foundation plantings, hospitals and healthcare facilities are one of the project types where unconscious control of chaos is warranted. When you're worrying about your loved one or yourself, battling an illness or trauma, orderly landscapes can be soothing and comforting that order and control can be contained or obtained. That humankind can conquer things that bring us harm. Find beauty in the rhythm and repeat the mantra that you or they have got this. Not all areas of a property or a project have to employ the same design type. Earlier, we showcased this project for its wildscape designs. Here, symmetrically planted beds soften, yet maintain the formal architectural views. The last design type we're going to talk about is the green ribbon design. Highways are another project type where formality works well. The eyes appreciate long, wide swaths of the same texture and color as we're going at highway speeds. Either that or our typical country swaths of wildflowers, but we still appreciate the groups of color when bluebonnets make their way to paintbrush, etc. Think about that in your landscape. How fast will you or your neighbors be passing by your property? Use larger groupings along the street and smaller groupings or individuals or specimen plantings along your walkways where attention can be given to each one at a slower, more thoughtful pace. Grapevine and a few other North Texas cities took TxDOT's Green Ribbon program name literally by creating strips of the same species plantings. The last topic I want to leave you with is the winter aesthetic. How are we doing on time? Yay! Embrace winter as the fourth season in your garden. Winter can have its own eye candy as well. Flowers fade. Budolph chooses plants more for shape and texture than for their blooms. Stripped bare stalks and stems and seed pods become architectural elements in the garden. The secret: embrace decay instead of rushing into the garden with your pruners at every sign of wilting. Learn to love the brown.
Brown is a color.
Brown is color. And there are multiple browns. Although this isn't a winter view, appreciate the succession of blooms to seed heads. After flowers wither, leave the plants in place instead of cutting them back. Sturdy stalks and dried seed pods will stand up to frost and snow, and coated in white will take on an ethereal otherworldliness. Visualize and listen to the wind blowing through tall grass, dry grasses. Pretend you're on a Nebraska prairie and they're shooting dances with wolves, and walk the prairie with your hands outstretched, gliding along the delicate blade. Just pull your hands back if you see Johnson grass. Preaching to the choir, right? Leave the leaves. The Xerces Society encourages us to leave the leaves. Minimize ground disturbance. Check for cavity nestings. Check under logs and rocks before moving. Countless invertebrate species prefer to nest and or hibernate around rocks and woody debris and leaves. When you do cut, don't cut this year's bloom stalk, cut the year before's bloom stalk, because this year's bloom stalk is where the native bees are gonna put their eggs, thank you, in that cavity. But you can make it easy access. After the birds eat all the seeds from the seed head, cut the seed head off. So you're giving them an access point, but then, it's on Xerces, you'll look it up. I didn't say that right. And my favorite right now is leave the leaves for fireflies. Poor Peter was just talking about not seeing any this year.
I saw them.
Because you got leaf litter, baby.
I have leaf litter too, but I still don't see.
They like mine better.
You win.
The contest. Now on to resources. Many of the points made today came from these authors. I encourage you to read these for deeper dives to help you formulate your own preferred landscape aesthetic. He even did one for kids. And I haven't read this one yet. Has anybody read this one yet? Pretty good?
I can give it to you.
Okay.
I never read it, but it's been on my bookshelf.
That's like a lot of my books. This one's a great coffee book table. Coffee table book. Pam Pennick down in Austin did a Lawn Gone. And Gardens of Texas is available for pre-order. So I'm excited to get that one. And of course, if you want to know the why and see it actually in real time, read Matt White's Prairie Time book and Amy Martin's Wild DFW if you want to go see the places around town. And of course, back to Joey. He's got a book coming out. It's available for pre-order. And last, we have Benjamin Boat again. Rethink Pretty. Thank you all.
And he has a book.
And he has books, yes. Questions? Yes, Anthony.
Considering the fact that, everybody with the lawns, with the, quote unquote lawns. And considering the fact that it's being drained to our resources and natural resources and so forth. If we were to convert our lawns into more native, maybe reduce the amount of turf area, do you feel like the cities like the Dallas, code compliance, and all these other municipalities would be receptive to our ideas?
Go for it.
What's that?
So when code compliance asks, like, what are you doing back there? Start telling them the names of each of your plants. And if you can name your plants and having a purposeful border, code compliance generally isn't a problem in Dallas. In HOAs, I think that's a different story.
Yeah, I've heard about that. I read on the internet about that.
But Dallas code compliance, it's more your neighbor, like if your neighbor complains, like they're not generally going to go out and like look for something that doesn't look tidy. They do a once a year, and at least in my neighborhood, they do a once a year alley check. And if you have privet growing in your alley, they come and show you pictures and some other bad weeds, but like.
Unless you're using the tree at 14 feet, I think it is, and you're not keeping stuff off the sidewalk, they're not really going to penalize you or come talk to you unless a neighbor says something.
They say something.
Yeah.
That's the rule of thumb.
Yes.
Oh.
So yeah, it's the safety for people walking the sidewalks. It's for the trash collectors. You got to keep the trees away, at a certain height. And of course, if you've got a whole yard with grass that's 12 inches or weeds, that's the
Sign that explains why.
you need, yeah, if it's grass and weeds, literally from, then yeah, they're gonna do something. But if you
like define like maybe clearly define areas, like this is an area for the pollinators, this is an area for birds or what have you.
like, do you remember that picture of my yard with everything going over the sidewalk?
I may have noticed.
I would have come back 3 feet away from the sidewalk, put a border and put low, like habiturf, like buffalo grass, and kept it mowed so that it looked purposeful.
Oh, okay, I see you saying, that was started like 3 feet from the public sidewalk.
Yes,
I got you.
you have to show intent. I am doing this on purpose. This is a design. I am not being a bad neighbor and letting my yard go to crap.
And Connie Cowell just said a Dallas code inspector told her that native pollinator monarch garden signs help because then people know what you're doing.
Yeah, in other words, you kind of display one of those signs, this is like a habitat.
Yeah.
Currently available at the table for $20 a piece.
Well, and I think too, in regards to, we have a couple, houses like that in my neighborhood, which might not yet. But they do, they do start to look unruly in the fall as things turn around, but they've got their signs up. to tell the neighbors, yes, this is intentional. Back off.
Yeah,
That's when it's time to plant the neighbor.
That, I mean, my sign has brought so many conversations with my neighbors. My neighbor across the street from me now has asked, like, can you plant my alley too? I'm so jealous. Everyone's looking at yours. And it's a good conversation to have.
I'll dig some up. You can,
What would
yeah. Janet,
I've had my front yard as a pocket prairie on a berm, so it's raised, for 20 years. The only time I got anything from code compliance was when my parkway, L strip, was decomposed granite, deliberately left that way with nothing growing in it, because it's got this beautiful garden right across the sidewalk. And in that garden, every spring, I have a lot of larkspur that I planted originally, and it's come back for 20 years. One year, one larkspur came up in the Hell Strip.
mow it.
One larkspur. Well, there's 100 larkspur on the other side of the sidewalk. And the year before, I'd been down about my trees that I didn't get trimmed in time, and I convinced them why. So I just pulled up the larkspur. But this year, I contacted code compliance. I like to walk, there's a green belt across the street from me. And they've got a really nice sidewalk that in the morning is in shade, and I like to walk there. Well, it was getting overgrown, and some places you had to go out in the street. There was big, 12-inch limbs. Taking pictures of all this and sending it to code compliance. And all the pictures have the GPS on them. What do? They came to my house. Because you had to report my address and the guy called me and he said he was glad to tell me that they didn't find anything wrong with my yard. Okay. And I said, why were you looking in my yard? Well, we got a complaint about it, said it was overgrown and needed to be trimmed back from the sidewalk. No, it's half a mile up the street. So, code compliance
Hit or miss.
shouldn't be a problem. And another one, Susie Renz, who doesn't have all natives, which has got a beautiful landscape. And they deliberately bought like 3 lots so that nobody would be building a bigger house around them, because that had happened to them in another neighborhood. And one day she was out working in her yard and code compliance came by and stopped and said how much they loved her yard. She said, but they were getting complaints on it all the time because she had rocks in her yard. And people would complain because she had these decorative rocks. And people would complain because she didn't have grass. And I can think of as, what are these people doing? She's on a residential street that has no traffic except people that live, how dull does your life have to be that you're driving around looking for things to call code compliance?
They're just jealous because she doesn't have to mow as much.
Well, when I talked about planting the neighbors, I didn't.
What's that joke? How do you get away with murder? Plant a endangered species plant over the grave.
But thank y'all for y'all inputs and things. Thank y'all.
There's a TED Talk about the horticulturist that is in charge of the High Line in New York. And her line was, lawns should be a throw rug, not wall-to-wall carpeting. Yeah. But my yard, my beds, I planted all natives, but then I got like 3 different vines that just come up and take over it, and then the grasses. So the maintenance on it is getting really difficult for me.
Oh, Carolina snails.
Yeah.
So is
Yeah, but it's.
So is dewberry.
Blueberry feels well behaved for me.
Not at my old place.
By the way, I want to make an interesting point. There was a movie I guess 20 years ago, of one of Shakespeare's plays. I think it was Much Ado About Nothing. And it was set in an Italian Renaissance villa. And what I noticed about that was the garden in that Renaissance villa was a severely formal Renaissance garden. But every single plant in that garden was native to the region. So you can do a very formal symmetrical garden using only natives.
I mean, think,
Anyone has an opportunity, the neighbor Johnson Flower Center, they throw out lots of vignettes of plantings for how to have like, you know, more of a wild look, how to have a very formal look. And they've got several of the native grass combos that you can see how it would look, you know, planting. Your lawn,
any questions from online?
Kudos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've come from the Northwest, so I'm used to leaves decomposing a lot faster than they tend to here.
Uh-huh.
I personally don't mind the leaves,
Mm-hmm.
but my partner and my parents do.
Uh-huh.
So I guess my question is, are there any like particular plants or grasses or sedges that I could incorporate into the landscape, especially in the front yard, to make it not look so messy? Because I did get a comment from a neighbor that I should leave the lights on at night because it looks abandoned. And it's gotten better since then. But yes, like I want to stay true to my values in supporting the natives, but also like be respectful of the neighbors. They have something nice to look at.
Well, I mean, if you want something more formal, remember there was a slide where it was all sedges, that 700 plugs of sedges. You could do that. You could have a carpet, wall-to-wall carpet of sedges and just interspace, you know, different specimen plants. Or you could do a carpet, wall-to-wall carpet. What about an undulating spine of one plant or a couple of plants? Have a couple of undulations. Have, you know, do modern arcs, you know, go play with it. But if you want to convert them, do the larger mass plantings and plant in odd numbers, 3, 5, 7. And do that smaller grouping. And that could, then you can start to, you know.
Okay. Yeah. I think they're at.
For now, you'll have them.
I made some sort out. Before early in swarm rate people, and then I do. Neighbors know at some point it's not gonna look so much. I know.
I used to shove them up against the house at the foundation.
Have the walkways clear, like make it purposeful. You like putting them in your beds definitely looks a lot better than having them kind of all like they just fell where you left them where they fell.
And maybe sprinkle compost on top of them to weigh them down, because once we have our winter winds, they'll end up in your neighbor's yard anyway, because mine did. So I raked them into the beds and they just came back up. So weigh them down.
But like I use my leaves like as my mulch, and so I just, if they're crumpled up a little bit, like and place them underneath the leaves of the other plant, so they're anchored down there, so they're not gonna blow away. And then also too, yeah, but the grasses and carrots and stuff, you can like just brush the leaves off the top and just tuck them underneath, then the blades will help hold them in.
Yeah.
Those things.
When you're doing that, wear gloves.
Yeah.
There are ground nesting wasps that got me one day when I was doing the leaves to put underneath the ground. So careful of that.
Watch out for the paper wasp that nest under the leaves of the forest too.
Well, maybe that was paper wasps. Yeah.
It's okay to shred the leaves, or is that?
I think
No, that ruins the habitat for overwintering insects.
The more protective layer.
Because I have red oak, like big Shumard oak leaves that are never gonna decompose, so I mean, if the alternative is throwing them away.
Shred some to help weigh down the big one.
Mulch mulberry grass,
Oh, yeah.
and I still always have more leaves than rake those into the garden, but I was wondering how much can they break down?
Oh, and if you do put the leaves up against the house at your foundation and your pest control guy says that's the reason why you have, you know, whatever, get another pest control person.
From about, pests that may actually
Go-
get inside the house.
Yeah. I saw that on a post. Somebody was complaining and everybody said, get a different person.
There are better ones. Ask them some questions.
Yeah.
What is your favorite ant?
We do, if y'all need signs, we do have signs for sale here. Those of you online, if you're not here, if you come to the meeting in person, we have the yard signs for sale. They're also for sale on the Native Plant Society of Texas website.
Native American seed.
And
They're $5 more though.
okay.
And
there's
shipping and we'll have them at the plant sale.
Are you talking about the Native Plant Society of Texas sign?
Yes.
Well,
Yes. they are.
And if you display them, if code compliance look at that, they probably may think, oh, okay, this person
It helps.
has to, they'll see that you have a purpose for that.
Well, but also the neighbors walking by will see, oh, that's why she's doing this.
They have
You know,
to-
if
have to
I'm,
pollinate it
if
and
I'm
nurture
not
it.
out there to tell them why I'm doing this and don't call code on me.
And that's why I got like, kind of like a sign that says lights off during times of the year.
Yeah. Tell your neighbor I'm not turning my lights off because birds are migrating, darn it.
There's another trick that I used in my parkway. I have things like snake herb in my parkway. So what I've done is plant a few classic roses in amongst all those natives. And all of a sudden, you know, people see the roses and, you know, it helps calm their.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a bad idea.
Anything else? Any other questions? Comments?
I have not watered my yard at all this year.
It's been a great summer for rain.
Compared to all the previous summers, yes.
Yeah.
I've ordered 1 or 2 spots. Things that look like they're really.
I don't think I've watered all my yard either. We just haven't got rain.
When I hear people complain about their $200 or $300 water bill, and I say mine has never been even 100.
Yeah.
You don't have to be.
What is the foundation for your house?
It's a pure being, all about.
And she's surrounded by trees, so it doesn't dry out. So, well, let's go eat. Thank you, everybody.